What would you do if you were trapped inside a 6-meter deep pool with no way out, and somewhere in the darkness, a predator was already waiting? This is not a nightmare. This is not a fantasy. This is a situation that begins with something incredibly ordinary, something so simple that it almost feels harmless, and that's exactly why it becomes so dangerous. The story begins at a film set, where a crew is preparing to shoot a scene inside a massive, empty swimming pool, 6 meters deep, with smooth concrete walls and no built-in escape once you're at the bottom. Everything is controlled, organized, just another day of work for everyone involved. Among the crew is a man named Day, part of the art department, responsible for making sure everything stays in place and functions as expected. He's not worried, not stressed, just do his job like any other day. His girlfriend, Koi, is also around, bringing along her small dog, Lucky, who is supposed to appear in one of the scenes. The shoot goes smoothly. Nothing unusual happens. No tension. No warning. Just another successful day at work. But what comes next changes everything. The following day, Day returns alone to the pool. His job is simple: drain the remaining water and clean up the area. There's no urgency, no pressure, no reason to rush. In fact, everything feels so normal that he decides to relax for a bit. He tosses a ball for Lucky to play with, watching the dog run around happily near the edge. At one point, Lucky wanders toward a quieter corner, where something catches attention for just a moment: a newspaper lying on the ground. The headline mentions a recent flood, and something else: a crocodile that escaped during the chaos. It's the kind of detail that seems important, but gets ignored, because nothing happens. Not yet. A friend of Day, Mayhem, briefly shows up, turns on the water pump to continue draining the pool, and prepares to leave. He was supposed to stay and help, but instead, he decides to go on a trip, leaving Day alone to finish everything. Before leaving, he ties Lucky near the edge of the pool to keep him safe. And just like that, Day is alone, completely alone. The pool is still draining, and there's no ladder. Day, unaware of how bad this can get, decides to relax inside the pool, floating on an inflatable mattress, enjoying the quiet, the isolation, the calm. And then he falls asleep. When he wakes up, everything is different. The water level has dropped significantly. Too much, too fast. He immediately realizes a problem and tries to swim toward the edge, but the distance has increased. The walls are too high now, too smooth, impossible to grip. He tries to climb, fails, tries again, fails again, each attempt becoming more desperate. At one point, he grabs onto a metal fixture with all his strength, pushing his body upward, forcing his fingers to hold, but the effort is too much. His nail tears. The pain is immediate, sharp, unbearable. He drops back down. Now it's no longer a small problem. Now it's real. He tries using an inflatable float as support, thinking it might give him the extra height he needs, but it's unstable, unreliable, and ultimately useless. Above him, just out of reach, are his belongings: his towel, his phone. So close, but completely inaccessible. He improvises, tie his robe string to his glasses, trying to hook the phone and pull it down, but the angle is wrong, his vision is limited, and the float makes everything harder. Nothing works. Then suddenly, his phone starts ringing. It's Koi. The vibration slowly moves the phone closer to the edge. Closer, closer. One more ring, and it might fall into the pool. This is his chance. But at the same time, Lucky hears the sound. Excited, the dog jumps toward the edge, pulling against the leash. And suddenly, the situation changes again. If Lucky slips, he could hang himself. Day is forced to make a decision: save the phone or save the dog. He chooses Lucky. He rushes, manages to stop the dog from choking. But in that exact moment, the phone shifts again and falls, but not into the pool. It gets caught for a brief second. Hope returns. Day jumps, trying to grab it midair. But instead of using the float for stability, he makes a desperate move. He misses, hits the edge hard, and the phone drops into water, destroyed. Now, he is truly alone. No communication, no way out, and The water level keeps dropping. Desperate, he dives toward the drain, trying to block it with cloth to stop the water from leaving. And at that exact moment, someone arrives. A pizza delivery guy. Day sees him, tries to scream, tries to call for help, but his pants chain gets stuck in the drain. He struggles, wastes time. Instead of removing the pants quickly, he tries to untangle it. And that mistake costs him everything. The delivery guy sees only the dog, leaves the pizza, and goes away. Dave finally frees himself, surfaces, screaming for help, but the sound of the motorcycle engine drowns his voice. Another chance, gone. And now, the situation is no longer bad. It's the beginning of something much worse. After losing his only chance to call for help, the situation becomes something entirely different. Not just inconvenient, not just dangerous, but slowly turning into something that feels impossible to escape. Day is exhausted both physically and mentally, and with no immediate solution, his body gives in to fatigue. He climbs back onto float, trying to conserve energy, trying to think, but the stress, the pain, and the dehydration begin to take their toll. Without even realizing it, he falls asleep again. Time passes. No one comes. No one notices. And when something finally changes, it doesn't make things better. It makes everything worse. Koi arrives at the location. She walks casually toward the pool, unaware of what has happened, unaware that Day is trapped below, struggling, desperate. She approaches quietly, smiling, thinking nothing is wrong, thinking this is just another normal day. Lucky starts barking. Day wakes up instantly. He sees her, and for a brief moment, hope returns. He shouts, loud, desperate, warning her not to jump. But the sudden noise startles her. She slips, and in one horrifying moment, she falls, not into the water, but directly onto the concrete edge. Her head hits hard, the sound echoes, and she collapses instantly, unconscious. Now the situation escalates beyond anything Day could have imagined. He's not just trapped anymore. Now, he has someone else to save. Someone injured, someone bleeding, someone who cannot move. He tries to call out to her, trying to wake her, but there's no response. She's completely out, and as if that wasn't enough, the weather begins to change. Dark clouds gather, the wind picks up, and soon, rain starts to fall. Day makes a decision. He removes the claw from the drain again, allowing the water to continue leaving, thinking that maybe a completely empty pool will give him more options, more control, even though he doesn't yet realize how wrong that assumption is. Night begins to fall. Darkness takes over the space. And that's when the final piece of the nightmare arrives. From the shadows, something moves. Slow, heavy, silent. A crocodile. It approaches from the outside, drawn by the environment, by instinct, by something unseen, and it moves toward Lucky, who begins to panic, barking loudly, unable to escape the leash. Day immediately tries to calm the dog, whispering, begging it to stay quiet, but fear takes over, and Lucky continues barking. The crocodile climbs onto the metal bars near the edge. Slowly, carefully, and then it slips, falling directly into the pool. Now everything changes. Completely. There is no more doubt, no more uncertainty. The threat is real, and it's inside with them. Day freezes, scanning the darkness, trying to locate it, but the creature disappears beneath the surface, silent, invisible, waiting. The night becomes unbearable. Every sound feels amplified. Every movement feels dangerous. Day stays as still as possible, trying not to attract attention, trying not to trigger anything. Hours pass, slowly, painfully, and when the sun finally rises, the second day begins. The pool is now almost completely empty. Koi is still unconscious, and the crocodile lies still under the heat of the sun, barely moving, conserving energy, like a predator that doesn't need to rush. Day searches Koi for anything useful, anything that could help, and finds something unexpected. A pregnancy test. Positive. The realization hits him hard. She came here to tell him something important, something life-changing. And now, they might not survive long enough for it to matter. He looks at her wound. It's deep, serious, She's losing blood. He needs to act. Inside the crocodile's mouth, he notices something unusual. A roll of duct tape, thrown there earlier by Mayhem as a joke. Now it becomes potential tool. A dangerous one. Day slowly approaches the creature, his body tense, every movement calculated, knowing that one mistake could cost him his hand or his life. Instead of using something safer, he reaches in with his bare hand. Careful, slow, but incredibly risky. Lucky barks again. Loud. The crocodile reacts, snaps its jaws, and Day barely pulls his hand back in time. It was close. Too close. But he manages to grab the tape. He quickly uses it to bandage part of Koi's wound, slowing the bleeding, giving her at least a chance. Then he looks toward the drain. A possible escape. The metal cover is bolted, locked in place. But then he notices something else. A chain around Koi's neck. Not just a chain. A multi-tool. Something that could open the drain. But there's a problem. The crocodile is now lying directly on top of it, blocking the only possible exit. Day thinks quickly. He pulls from the tape and throws it repeatedly at the crocodile's head, irritating it, forcing it to move away. It works. For a moment. Just enough. He rushes to the drain, removes the bolts as fast as he can, his hands shaking, his mind racing, and finally opens it. Inside, a narrow pipe, 2 possible directions, 2 unknown paths. Before he can decide what to do next, the crocodile moves again, this time heading directly toward Koi. The moment Day sees the crocodile moving toward Koi, everything else disappears from his mind. The exhaustion, the pain, the fear, none of it matters anymore, because now there is only one objective left: reach her before it does. He reacts instantly, diving toward the open drain, crawling to the pipe as fast as his body allows, ignoring the tight space, ignoring the discomfort, driven purely by adrenaline and desperation. Every second feels longer than it should, every movement slower than necessary, because he knows exactly what is about to happen if he doesn't get there in time. As he moves through the pipe, the darkness closes in around him. The air feels heavier, harder to breathe, and the sound of his own body scraping against the walls echoes through the confined space. But he doesn't stop. He can't stop. He emerges back into the pool just in time to see the crocodile approaching Koi's motionless body, slowly, almost calmly, like it is all the time in the world. Day grabs the first thing he can find, a nearby object, and throws it, shouting, making as much noise as possible to draw attention away from her. For a brief moment, it works. The creature shifts its focus toward him instead. That moment is enough. He reaches Koi, pulling her slightly, try to create distance, try and protect her, but the space offers no real safety, only temporary delay. The crocodile advances again, but this time more cautiously, as if it has already learned enough about him to understand that he is not completely helpless. Day realizes something crucial in that moment. This is not just about strength. This is about timing, about distraction, about using whatever little advantage he can create. But even with that realization, the situation continues to deteriorate. He looks back toward the drain, now open, now exposed, and understands that leaving it open created a new risk, a direct path for Crocodile to move between spaces. And that mistake nearly costs everything. The creature shifts again, lowering its body, sliding toward the pipe entrance, disappearing into the darkness with unsettling ease. For a second, Day doesn't understand. Then it hits him. It's using the tunnel. It's moving beneath them. He looks around quickly, panic rising again, trying to predict where it will emerge next, but there's no way to know. The environment is no longer just dangerous. It's unpredictable. And that's what makes it worse. Time passes slowly again, tension stretching every second, until finally he makes a decision. If the crocodile can use the pipe, then maybe he can too. He turns back to the opening and begins crawling again, this time with a different objective. Not just escape, but exploration. The tunnel splits into 2 directions, 2 unknown paths, 2 risks. He chooses one, moves forward, carefully. The space becomes tighter, darker, more suffocating, but eventually he reaches something, a metal barrier, a gate, behind it, a ladder, a way out. For a brief moment, Hope explodes inside him. This is it. This is the escape. But then reality hits again. The gate is locked. A chain, a padlock, completely sealed. He tries to force it, push it, shake it, but nothing works. The exit is right there, visible, close, and completely unreachable. Frustration turns into anger, anger into desperation, but none of it changes the situation. And then he hears it, movement from behind, inside the pipe. The crocodile is coming back. He freezes for a split second, realizing the mistake. He left Koi alone again, exposed, vulnerable, and now the creature is moving toward her from below. He turns instantly, crawling back faster than before, scraping his body, ignoring pain, ignoring everything, because now he knows exactly what is about to happen if he's too late. He emerges again just in time. The crocodile is already near her, partially hidden beneath a cloth, moving slowly, almost blending into the environment. He grabs it, pulls it, shouts, forces it away again, barely, and once again he saves her, but just barely, and that barely is becoming a pattern, a dangerous one, because luck doesn't last forever. Koi begins to regain consciousness, slowly, weak, confused. She doesn't fully understand what's happening, but she understands enough. The pain, the blood, the situation, and then Day tells her about the pregnancy, about what he found. And for a brief moment, even in the middle of all this chaos, something human breaks through. Fear, hope, connection. But reality quickly takes over again. They are still trapped, still exposed, still sharing the space with a predator. Time continues to pass. The third day begins. The heat is stronger now. The water is almost completely gone. Only small traces remain. Day is getting weaker, much weaker. His body is starting to shut down because there's something else, something critical. He's diabetic, and he needs insulin. Without it, his body will fail. He remembers something, a syringe, left above, on a metal table, so close, and yet again, impossible to reach. He tries to think, tries to plan, but his energy is fading, his thoughts slower, his movements heavier. At one point, he uses a duct tape to write a message on the ground, a call for help, a last attempt, and then he collapses, losing consciousness for hours. Koi wakes him, barely, and together they notice something new. The crocodile has laid eggs, dozens of them, and that realization brings a new kind of fear, because now it's not just a predator, it's a mother, and a mother will be far more aggressive, far more dangerous. The storm returns. Rain begins to fall again, providing water, but also changing everything. The environment shifts once more, and just when it feels like things couldn't get worse, they do, because survival is no longer about endurance. It's about making impossible choices, and every mistake is becoming more expensive than the last. By the time the fourth day begins, survival is no longer about escaping quickly. It's about lasting just a little longer, pushing the body beyond its limits, making decisions that would seem insane under normal circumstances. But here, they are the only options left. Day is weak, dehydrated, barely holding on, and the presence of the crocodile has turned every second into a constant calculation between risk and necessity. But hunger begins to take over, and when hunger becomes strong enough, it changes the way a person thinks. His eyes lock onto the eggs. The crocodile's eggs. At first, it feels wrong, dangerous, almost impossible, but then survival speaks louder. He pretends to collapse, lying still, barely moving, controlling his breathing, waiting, and slowly, the crocodile begins to approach, cautious, suspicious, but drawn in by the apparent vulnerability. And that's exactly what he wanted. As it gets closer, it steps onto the covered drain, the same opening that leads to the pipe system below. The cloth shifts slightly under its weight, and in a sudden, perfectly timed movement, the animal loses balance and slips down into the pipe. Day reacts instantly, no hesitation. He rushes forward, grabs a metal cover, and slams it shut, sealing the opening while Koi pushes a heavy object over it, securing it in place. For the first time, the predator is trapped, and they are not. That changes everything. The tension doesn't disappear, but it shifts. For the first time, they have space to breathe, space to think, even if only temporarily. And with that small window, they make a decision. They take the eggs. It's brutal. It's desperate, but it's survival. Dave manages to start fire using what little materials he can find, and together, they cook the eggs, creating the only real source of food they've had since this nightmare began. It's not comfort. It's not relief, but it's enough to keep them alive. They try again to escape, using each other, stacking their bodies, pushing their limits. But 6 meters of smooth concrete doesn't forgive effort. They fail, again, and time keeps moving. The 5th day arrives. They make another decision, a risky one. They reopen the drain, not because they want the crocodile back, but because they need the pipe. Coy goes first this time, crawling through the narrow space, reaching the area with the ladder behind the lock gate. Day is supposed to follow, but instead, he makes a mistake, a small one, a stupid one. He goes back for something unnecessary, a music box, something sentimental, something that has no value in survival. And that decision almost costs him everything. The crocodile returns through the pipe, fast, aggressive, closer than ever. Dave barely escapes, crawling back into the tunnel just in time, his heart racing, his body shaking, realizing how close he came to dying for something that didn't matter. Inside the pipe, things don't get better. They get worse. The space is tight. The air is limited. And Dave's condition is deteriorating rapidly. Without insulin, his body is shutting down. He becomes weaker, slower, barely able to move. But he still tries. Using a piece of wire, he attempts something almost impossible. Try to knock down the syringe from above, calculating angles, force, distance. And somehow, it works. The syringe falls. Hope returns for a brief second, but he pulls too hard, too fast, and the syringe drops again, into the void. Broken, useless, another chance, gone. The 6th day begins. Day is barely conscious. His body is failing, his mind drifting, until something unexpected happens. He finds cigarettes. Inside the pack, 2 insulin syringes. A miracle, something that shouldn't have been there, but is. He uses them, and slowly, his body stabilizes. Not fully, but enough to keep going. Then something appears above, a flying object, noise, movement, hope. He rushes to signal, but it's nothing, just a toy. And once again, hope disappears. The weather shifts again. Strong winds, heavy rain. The environment becomes unstable. And suddenly, something falls into the pool. Barbed wire, sharp, dangerous, but also useful. Day sees an opportunity, a painful one. He begins to climb using the wire, the sharp edges cutting into his hands, tearing skin, causing intense pain. But he keeps going, pushing through it, trying to reach the top. And then it fails. The wire breaks. He falls. Hard. His body hits the ground violently. His leg, broken. The pain is immediate, overwhelming. And before he can even process it, the crocodile attacks again. It bites his leg, hard, deep, and somehow, through pure instinct, he manages to escape, kicking, fighting, surviving. But now he's worse than ever, injured, exhausted, barely alive. The storm intensifies. Water begins to rise again, filling the pool, changing everything. Coy hides inside a metal structure. Dave moves through the pipe once more, exploring the second path. And what he finds is devastating. Another pool, another trap, no escape. The 7th day arrives. The final day. Above them, 2 old men appear, looking for the toy that fell earlier. They see the area, talk, move around, and for a moment, rescue feels possible. But Day is too far. Too late. They leave, but they leave something behind. A ladder, hanging, right there. This is it. The last chance. Day moves toward it, but the crocodile returns, blocking the path. And now, There's no avoiding it. This is the final confrontation. Day wraps barbed wire around his hands. The creature lunges. He slips, gets bitten again, but keeps fighting, punching, struggling, refusing to die. Koi is drowning, the water rising too fast. There's no time, no space, only action. Day grabs a sharp piece of wood and drives it into the crocodile's eye. The creature recoils, but it's not enough. The fight continues until the final moment, the final push, the final act of desperation. Day grabs a metal rod and drives it straight into the creature's throat. This time, it stops. The crocodile is dead, but there is no time to celebrate. Koi is dying. He needs to reach her. He needs to climb. And there's only one way, using Lucky, the dog, dead, still attached to the leash. It's brutal, emotional, but necessary. He uses the body as support, climbs, pushes, forces himself upward, breaks the lock, rescues Koi. She's not breathing. He performs CPR. Seconds feel endless. And then she breathes. They survived. Barely. Broken. Changed. But alive. And all this suffering, pain, and desperation came from one simple mistake. This is the pool.